Oh, yes, here we are. Once again, the High Noon Hemp Show. It must be Wednesday at noon Eastern Time on the Hemptations Beach page on Facebook. It's the beginning of season 4. It's Hemp History Week. There's so much going on. I'm, of course, Joe Claire. You can Google me if you care enough to find out what I do besides this. And live from Hemp Quarters in Sharonville is Beach. Beach, how's your Hemp History Week going?
Hemp History Week is going fantastic. Happy Hemp History Week, everyone. I hope you are celebrating in some way or another out there.
By watching this, at least.
As it goes on, by watching this and learning. I'm going to get through a couple things, and I'm going to go through my my hemp history education, which now starts at 28 million years ago. A couple quick things, as I am high above the Hemptations in Cherville, the good old Hemp Quarters. This is the High Noon Hemp Show. And like you said, that's Joe Claire over there pushing the buttons and letting you hear my voice. You don't have to look at me if you don't want to. It's okay. This is what I call a radio show with video. I guess it's a podcast with video, a vodcast. I don't even know if that's a word or not. But
I think all those apply.
Anyway.
It's all good.
Okay. Making up stuff. First and foremost, I want to let everybody know that as much as I thought the Ohio government wasn't going to screw up SB 57, we find out that, yes, they are going to make a valid attempt of screwing up SB 57. I just learned this week that they want to, or are going to add a glib in SB 57 that will make you have to get a license to produce any industrial hemp product. This is the most ridiculous freaking thing that I have ever heard of. Joe got me fired up before the show. We were talking about the FDA thing, and I'm going to reel it right into our Ohio government.
You're all going to get it today.
Because we are in the process in Ohio of screwing up an industrial hemp bill. And so what that means is I want to make a set of cornhole bags in the what I call the No Sweat workshop here at Planet Everywhere. We'll have to have a license to make a cornhole bag. If I want to make a pair of jeans, again, this is all hemp products, not CBD, all hemp products, whether it's lotion, a food product made from the grain. You will have to have a license to do this. This will inevitably stop production of all industrial hemp manufacturing in the state of Ohio. This will stop production. I don't know what the license is going to cost, but any cost to have a license to make industrial hemp foods will drive all of that manufacturing out of Ohio. We don't even have that much now, so we're going to legalize growing industrial hemp. And then we're going to tell the person that wants to make to sell hemp grain or any food product that they got to get a license just to make that into whatever food product. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. A pair of jeans. Once again, any of the products that we make in Planet Everywhere, I'm going to have to buy a license to sew hemp fabric in the state of Ohio. The best I can tell you is you better get out there and call your House of Representatives and whoever, because I hear the vote may take place tomorrow. Wow. So they changed this thing, and in days of putting this ridiculous clause in SB 57 in Ohio, these politicians are going to destroy the idea of manufacturing. Now, again, I don't know what this license costs. I don't care if it's $30. It's a ridiculous idea to make everybody that wants to manufacture hemp goods in the state of Ohio to have a license to do it. I mean, is there going to be a licensing fee to import stuff because it was made in another state but manufactured? Again, I cannot fathom the purpose of this. I cannot fathom the purpose of this clause that they're trying to add to SB 57, which will probably get passed tomorrow, and we will inevitably be screwed. All manufacturers of hemp products in the state of Ohio will be screwed from here on out because we have to go through a process that we shouldn't have to go through. We just shouldn't have to go through it. You know, now all of a sudden I have to have a state license, and now I got to listen to the Board of Pharmacy. And we're going to legalize industrial hemp so we don't have to listen to the Board of Pharmacy's crap, but you're going to make me get a license to manufacture hemp goods, clothing, cosmetics, anything out of industrial hemp. Just to manufacture it. It's just, it's so ridiculous. I cannot even fathom it. And so, you know, best I can do is rant. And you're right. I guess, you know, inevitably I was too optimistic to think that the bill we had was good enough. They would have put their signatures on that. I was good with it. There was nothing in the original one that passed the Senate unanimously. And they think they got to change it now. Nobody complained. I believe everybody that testified in front of this panel for this particular bill was on board with it. And I know nobody sat up there and said, we got to have more licensing. We got to make sure that everybody's got more licenses.
No, I would bet good money that's a politician's idea, licensing.
Oh, good. I mean, yeah. I mean, think about it.
Raise some revenue.
I mean,
make them
right? For just, you know, the guy that makes the petrochemical based cosmetics doesn't have to get a license to make his petrochemical based cosmetics in Ohio. But if you want to use hemp, which is 80 bazillion times better than oil from the ground, you got to get a license. The seamstress that wants to make a cotton dress, she doesn't have to get a license to make her cotton dress. She can go on making her cotton dress all day long with license. But now she wants to use hemp, 4 to 6 times stronger than cotton, doesn't take any herbicides or pesticides to grow for the fiber. She's got to get a license to make the same freaking dress. I mean, happy Hemp History Week, folks, because Ohio is making some crappy history. You know, I said a couple weeks ago, it's not all hemp flowers. And, you know, this is more proof that you know, Ohio, I thought they weren't going to screw it up too badly. In fact, I thought they weren't going to screw it up at all. And now, lo and behold,
the incompetence of politicians and lawmakers and bureaucrats and the like.
They will prove me wrong. So, you know, again, the best I can do is reach out to your representative today in Ohio and tell them that you do not want to have a license to make a pair of hemp jeans. It's ridiculous. It's just, hey, you want to make some hemp plastic in Ohio? Hey, get a license. Hey, you want to make some petrochemical plastic in Ohio? No license, Ness. Just keep making your petrochemical plastic that's destroying the planet. We don't care. But if you want to make that earth-friendly plastic, biodegradable, by gosh, you're going to get a license to do that. So now we're going to start licensing environmentally friendly ideas. That sounds like the current administration. That is for sure. You know, governor of Ohio, I don't think he's too environmentally kind. You know, I don't think that the federal administration is environmentally kind. And so, you know, if hashtag 45 finds out about this, there's going to be a license on all production. No tariffs. We'll make tariffs, but then we'll license manufacturers. We have to make you get a license to manufacture. I'm just, you know, some things I'm sure you should have a license to manufacture because there should be regulations on some things out there. But to have a license to manufacture a pair of jeans, a T-shirt, some shampoo, a license to manufacture shampoo because you want to put hemp oil in it. I'm just so founded by the idea that I cannot believe it. I just found out. Rumor has again, I don't know when that vote's going to take place, but the rumor was it could happen tomorrow. And so once again, I implore anyone in the state of Ohio to get a hold of their representative, get a hold of all the representatives and tell them that it's a ridiculous idea to have their constituents have to get a license to manufacture something that the competition doesn't have to get a license for. That's the unfairness in it. I think that if I have to personally challenge this in courts, I am going to, because there's no way that in a free market or a fair market that you can say that one person manufacturing one good because it's made out of one product doesn't need a license, but because I want to manufacture this pair of jeans out of this particular fiber, I need a license for it. That's the most ridiculous set of circumstances I have ever heard of. I mean, I just can't believe how ridiculous of an idea that is, in all honesty, folks. And so, I don't want to believe it, but it's there. It's going to be in print, and it's going to be something that I will spout until it is changed. That's for sure. And again, I don't care how much it costs. It's not the money. It could be $5. It could be $4.20. I don't care. It's a ridiculous, unfair business practice. Therefore, it can't. All right, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say about SB 57. I implore everyone in Ohio. I don't know if you don't live in Ohio, call them anyway. I don't care if they won't live. And tell them how ridiculous of it that is to have to license all industrial hemp manufacturing, all of it. I don't care what it is. Food, fiber, clothing, plastic, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You want to make hemp fuel, you're going to have to get a license to do that, which is probably true anyway, because I think it's illegal to run a vehicle on anything but petrochemical-based fuels in a lot of states. Batteries seem to be the exception, but I think, anyway, let's SB 57. Happy Hemp History Week, folks. As a part of Hemp History Week, I'm playing in a golf tournament tomorrow. So hey, how about that? The Goodwill Celebrity Golf Tournament. I'm not the celebrity on our team, I don't think, but I'm going to act like I am. I want to make sure everybody know, as the host of the High Noon Hemp Show, I'm the celebrity. Now, that's going to be fun. Let's go ahead and jump into the hemp history. Again, we all just recently learned, if you're in the hemp world, basically that they traced cannabis back to the Tibetan plateau, roughly 10,000 feet up in altitude. How they did that was they traced the pollen. And so they found it, and they got this pollen all the way back 28 million years. And then it went to Europe, which is interesting, and then came to back over to Asia, basically, is how it went over 28 million years. We jump ahead to the human use. The first traces of human use that we have found archaeologically is 10,000-year-old hemp cloth found in the Iran-Iraq area, as well as China. And that's where it kind of comes out of the Fertile Crescent, which is where most modern agriculture started, we believe. That's when humans stopped moving around and became agrarians. That is, growing plants specifically for certain purposes. And so, we believe it's one of the first agriculturally grown crops in the whole world, as far as the history of cannabis goes. And so it's been around for a very long time when it comes to humans. It's been around a very long time before the humans. I'm sure the birds in the Tibetan plateau, if they were up there, were loving that hemp seed 28 million years ago and to the present, 10,000 years to when we started using it for fiber first time. We found traces of using it for fiber, I should say. Then we jump ahead only about 6,000 years ago, and hemp was among the 5 grains in China. And so it was highly recommended to grow as part of the diet and use for fiber. They did both as far as edible and fiber use. And of course, the Chinese now are the largest one of the largest producers of hemp fiber on the whole planet. Then we jump ahead about 4,000 years ago, and it is a sacred grass among the 5 sacred plants in India. And so it's made its way from the Fertile Crescent kind of over through China, and then now it's starting to go down into India. And again, essential to their agriculture. You know, and here's the interesting part. I don't, you know, causation, correlation, you decide. China and India both have the largest populations in the world. Is that because they were smart enough to grow industrial hemp? Yes. I don't know. Way back in the day, you know, I mean, you have to understand, if they were eating it, that protein was so unbelievably beneficial to their health that they didn't know it, but they knew it, you know, one way or another. And so, you know, it's an interesting correlation or causation, one way or another. Now we jump ahead, going back to China, 2,000 years ago, and I think this is one of the most interesting hemp history facts out there that no one thinks about on a daily basis. Chinese invented paper using hemp. Okay, they didn't perfect paper by bringing hemp in. They made the first papers using hemp. Documented fact. If you're a paper person, you know that. You should. And so we're talking about 2,000 years ago when paper was invented, hemp was what was used. And that was true up until the age of what we call yellow journalism. And yellow journalism gets part of its term because they started using tree pulp for paper, and it started turning yellow, and it didn't last as long. You know, obviously your newspaper may not need to be around for a long time, but that is actually where the crossover from hemp paper to paper pulp paper, or tree pulp paper, is kind of why yellow journalism got its nickname as yellow journalism, because the paper turned yellow over a little bit of time. And so hemp was, and still is, the Gutenberg Bibles originally. The very first printed Bibles, Gutenberg he invented the print press, basically. The very first print pressed Bibles were hemp paper. And so, you know, our first drafts of the Declaration of Independence were on paper, or the Constitution drafts, not the end ones, but you know, and so hemp paper alone, I mean, it was the first way to truly document anything in an efficient manner. You know, pounding symbols into rock to tell a story is great. I mean, genius. I'm not saying it wasn't at the time, but that's not very efficient. And you sure can't travel with a big wall of hieroglyphics to tell your story. And so, you know, paper advanced humanity in unfathomable ways. And we don't think about it anymore. You know, we're trying to get rid of paper now. I try to use as little paper as I can, or buy recycled paper, blah, blah, blah. But it is an essential part of humanity's history, and carrying, you know, telling that story, writing it down. And so, you know, to realize that paper was invented using hemp sure is it's a pretty important history fact, period. Definitely on the top of the list for hemp history. Now, I also want to say, you know, hemp was a large part of the European invasion / immigration of the United States. All the vessels that brought the ships over here were all with hemp sails. Hemp was a legal tender, legal commodity in the early colonial days. That same hemp went on to those I always flake on the term for the stagecoaches, the wheeled carts that took people across the country. I don't know. I don't know why I can't remember this term a lot. But anyway, that was hemp canvas, making its way across the country, keeping people safe as they traveled.
Covered wagons.
Covered wagon. There we go. I don't know why. Covered wagon. The covered wagons were covered with hemp. The word canvas is rooted in the Latin word cannabis. Okay, so it was essential to the safety of things when that was going on. You know, we see France. We see a bridge in France, 600 years old, that the abutments have hempcrete in it, and so you know we're talking 600-year-old hempcrete, and hempcrete is becoming one of the most popular forms of hemp to work with right now, because it produces a lighter crete with the same structural adherity, I believe, and it's also antimicrobial, antibacterial, all these anti-good things, and it's renewable. And so once again, it's a renewable resource to be building hempcrete structures with, and it is very popular, and people are doing it all over. Once again, I think I mentioned it last week that they denied a permit to an architect in Cincinnati to build with hempcrete, which is just baffling to me. But so it is. Now, if we jump ahead to 1937, 1937, Kentucky is the largest producer of hemp in the country, producing probably is about half of what's being grown here, which was about half of what, or about the same amount that we were importing at the time in 1937. So we were growing about the same amount that we were importing as far as mostly fiber. Once again, we weren't growing in the United States for the grain in 1937. It was all fiber. That is when they passed the Marijuana Tax Act. And they said all cannabis is now taxed so high that it's basically impossible to deal in it in any way. This caused many doctors appealed to Congress, saying this is wrong. Didn't matter because, you know, they called it marijuana so that no one knew they were talking about hemp or cannabis. It was referred to as cannabis in the medical world, and it was referred to hemp in the agricultural world. Farmers didn't know that marijuana was hemp. Or hemp was marijuana, I should say, because marijuana was not hemp. Hemp was not marijuana. But it didn't matter. It was all cannabis. So that made all of the growing or use of any cannabis product illegal in the United States, in a very a race move, because they were blaming minorities for this destruction caused by marijuana, which didn't happen. You know, there is rumors out there that, you know, William Randolph Hearst had just purchased millions of acres of timber for paper pulp. There's also, you know, the correlation of the first synthetic fiber being invented in 1937-38. Hemp oil could be used as a fuel. And if you don't know, prohibition of alcohol was backed by the fact that alcohol could be used as a fuel, and the petrochemical companies didn't want that, and so they actually kind of got behind prohibition. Same thing for hemp. You know, the original diesel fuel was a biofuel. Corn, he was using Adolf Diesel was using all kinds of natural oils to develop diesel oil. All of a sudden, you can make diesel oil, biofuel out of petrochemical. We think we have an unlimited amount of oil. So the original idea of diesel fuel being made bio, corn, hemp, all those things. Henry Ford built a car that ran on hemp oil. You know, they all went away. They all went away in 1937. Ironically, they came back at the government's behest, I think, behest. In 1942, the government released a video called Hemp for Victory. It's a 15-minute video. I highly recommend that you go watch it. It's on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. It is a stereotypical government PSA which implored our farmers to grow hemp for the war effort. They were allowed to until the war ended, and then all of a sudden this essential product to the war effort went away. This was the same time when Henry Ford built a car out of hemp. Again, there's a picture of Henry Ford taking a sledgehammer to a vehicle that he built, that they manufactured, and it was made out of hemp. It was all natural material for the body of the vehicle. It also ran on fuel. When the war ended and we couldn't grow hemp in the United States, Henry Ford said nope, because Henry Ford wasn't going to import the goods. He was American through and through, and if he couldn't build his cars with American-made products, grown, steel, pounded out, whatever, then he wasn't going to do it. And so the hemp car, Henry Ford's hemp car, which I'm sure would still exist to this day if we didn't make hemp illegal in 1937, came and went. And so we're seeing the return of vehicles, the BMW, the new electric BMWs, they dropped the body weight by 20% of the vehicle by using hemp door panels. There's an Eco Elise out there, a little sports car that they used hemp. And there was a Canadian company that I was hoping was actually going to go to production called Crestal, I think it was. I don't know, 5-10 years ago, and it was like a little Ford Fiesta looking kind of vehicle, but again, the whole body made out of hemp. That would have been very cool. We are definitely seeing more and more industrial hemp in the automotive industry as far as body products and whatnot. Fuel may be a little bit away, and hopefully, I'd like to just see the idea of a liquid fuel disappear. But if we are going to run our vehicles on a liquid fuel, then let's make it a renewable resource, whether it's hemp or, corn is not as efficient as an ethanol. But anyway, there is something out there that we can, I'm sure, develop that could be just as efficient and we could get rid of. Hemp is good because it has a high flash point. And so that's why you can't use hemp oil as a frying oil, because it's kind of dangerous, because it has a very high flash point, which means it will ignite. And so that was, that's what Abraham Lincoln, here's more history. Abraham Lincoln supposedly, when he was reading his books in his cabins in Kentucky back in the day, those lights were hemp oil. Those lamps were hemp oil, as the rumor has it, because it makes for a very efficient ignitable fuel, and just its oil, if you could squeeze the seed oil, you're in your fingers, that little bit of oil right there will ignite if you wanted to. So more hemp history, and so we're now illegal. World War II's ended. There's one farm in like Wisconsin or something for some reason, kind of because they had a government contract for 20 years that is allowed to grow, and that's it. And then I think they finally shut down right around before the 70s, because in 1970, Nixon, and they changed the spelling of marijuana here. Originally, it was spelled with an H in the Marijuana Tax Act, and the controlled substance, it's J. Okay, and so that's when hemp gets on the controlled substance list. 1970, all cannabis is put on the controlled substance list. The Marijuana Tax Act is, I think, repealed. I think that's how they had to do it, so to speak. But they passed the Controlled Substance Act, so they really make it even more illegal than it was when the Marijuana Tax Act existed. Jumping ahead to 2004, I think, is a very interesting part of hemp, the modern hemp history, and that is where the HIA, the Hemp Industries Association, sued the DEA and created the source code. And basically, this went to the federal Supreme Court, and it said what the Supreme Court decided was you have to look at the source of the product. If the original source was industrial hemp, and again, this is kind of an international standard because we don't really have a legal definition of hemp in the United States, but the international standards, kind of back this up. But if it came from hemp, no matter where, then it was a hemp product. If it came from marijuana, so to speak, cannabis marijuana, then it was part of the Controlled Substance Act. And again, that was all imported goods. We weren't growing. We're not there yet. That history hasn't been made. I'll get to that. This was actually happened to protect the food industry because the DEA was threatening to go into Kroger's and Whole Foods and charge them under the Controlled Substance Acts for hemp food because they couldn't put 0% THC on the box or whatever. And so basically we sued. We said, you can't say 0% anything, by the way. I mean, there are certain standards of parts per million of stuff that's completely disgusting that can be in our food. And so to say that we can have 0 parts per million THC for our food product is a ridiculous idea. And we proved that in court. And that really started the acceptance of industrial hemp products in your large markets. All of a sudden I'm seeing stuff at Walmart. It's just all of a sudden it's starting to pop up everywhere because that kind of legitimized the industrial hemp market in the United States. And so, the big history happened, I suppose, 2014 with the Agricultural Act passing, which actually defined industrial hemp. And so that put that 0.3% or less THC to make it industrial hemp. And that, now that's the federal law. Anything with 0.3% or less THC, cannabis sativa, L, period, which is the true scientific name of where we get industrial hemp products from, can now be completely legal. No questions as what is defined as an industrial hemp product and then what is defined as a marijuana product. And so that moved American farming back. I brought it back. In Kentucky, 2014, they grew 15 acres of hemp. This year, they're growing 44,000. And to be specific as to how those products, what the other big thing that happened, you had to go through the DEA still. So you would take your hemp permits for all the farmers and you would submit them to the DEA, and they had to approve that seed. Once they approve that seed, it's industrial hemp. It's taken off the controlled substance list. So from 2014 to 2018, if you were growing under the federal guidelines, basically, your industrial hemp was taken off the controlled substance list and making it industrial hemp for whatever you were making out of it. 2018, we see the Agricultural Improvement Act passed, and that says that, once again, reiterates that 0.3% THC, but also says all the byproducts. Anything from the root to the flower, as long as it's 0.3% or less, is an industrial hemp product. One thing it says, too, which is coming about, and it's kind of been a controversy, is it says it opens up in an interstate, one of the two, whichever crosses state lines, travel of industrial hemp. So if I want to take my industrial hemp from Ohio to Oregon, but there's a state in between that's not legal, they are not to interfere. Yeah. We've seen this happen, but it's clearly there, and I think that's going to be upheld eventually or used. And again, you still have to be in a state that legalizes industrial hemp under the federal guidelines. But the state sets up a program, but removed from the controlled substance list. Removed. You no longer have to go through the DEA. So if your seed, the seed you want to get, is a certified industrial hemp, certified 0.3% or less THC for whatever reason, fiber, grain, CBD, you don't have to go. We don't have to file through the DEA anymore. It's off the controlled substance list. Now, if it comes up with more THC than it's supposed to, then, you know, most states, I believe, just burn those plants. You probably have your license maybe revoked or get a warning. I don't know. But, you know, that's how that works. It's not a criminal thing if it's just a couple points above. And so that's the history starting 28 million years ago up to the present history in the United States. Our history starts kind of like this. We opened in 1995. We now have the largest selection of hemp on the planet at Hemptations. And, you know, we continue to do what we do. And so that's the Hemptations hemp history. That's hemp history. The short version, I should say, which is not that short. I think that's all. I think that's all about on the hemp history part of it that I want to touch on. Obviously, there is so much out there that you can just go and find out how big of a part it has played over the last 10,000 years when it comes to humanity. You know, and so it has a long and storied history. We are celebrating in the stores by giving a discount for all hemp products, 20% off. Everything is 20% off as far as industrial hemp. And if you purchase more than $14.20 in industrial hemp products, you'll get a hemp lip balm in a hemp plastic tube as a little bonus for celebrating Hemp History Week, as we like to do every day here at Hemptations.
Hemptations.com
that's
for locations.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That's right. Do that.
If you're in Southwest Ohio, just traveling through really anywhere within, I would say, a 500-mile radius, you really should stop.
420 mile radius.
Yes.
We'll just make it easy for everybody to remember.
Pop it into Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you use and head on down, as they say.
It's just a short drive. That's a short drive.
Right.
You won't be disappointed. If you love hemp as much as I love hemp, I don't think I'm going to disappoint you. I really don't.
Absolutely.
Everybody send their best out, their best wishes to me. I'm actually doing an interview tomorrow with the executive producer of a national program hosted by, I don't want to jinx it, but hosted by a particular space captain. But this interview, I think, will decide whether I am part of the new frontiers of hemp. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited just to be asked. Honestly, they found me. They asked. I don't get recognized very often, folks. If you're out there, I'm not part of 100 most influential hemp people for some reason. I'm not. I haven't won any lifetime hemp awards.
If this show doesn't change that, I really don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, you know, I suppose I continue to try in my little corner of the United States over the last 23 years. And again, not why I do it. You know, it's obviously little disconcerting when my name is not mentioned. But you know what? I'm not really a vanity person, and so it's only discouraging because the people that are out there then don't know about me and how I can help them and influence them positively in the hemp world, because that's all I want to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do. 23 years. I just want to educate people on industrial hemp, show them why they should use industrial hemp, save the planet in the meantime. You know, I know, a little optimistic. But, you know, here we are 23 years later. Here I am hosting the High Noon Hemp Show, which you can go on YouTube and watch on demand at the Jedi Hemp channel. And so, you know, every show is about educating best I can. And so times. That being said, let's move on to the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door, as I like to say. We are now kind of moving into specific products by different brands because we've covered over 100 different brands that we carry in the store. 420-mile radius, folks. If you're in it, you should come check it out. The first one is we've got these really nice. I've had these for a while. Hemp Company short sleeve button downs. I know they're at $45, maybe a little expensive. Now, if you get in now, by the end of the week, you enjoy that 20% off, making that shirt only about $35 for the sale, and should never wear out. They are exceptionally made shirts, very nice for that semi-formal or formal attire to time, or if you want to wear it that way. And again, we should have most of these. Sharonville has the biggest selection, but we should have most of these kind of in the store. I think I do need to get that selection a little bit better in the stores, but I'll work on that and get some of those out for people to enjoy. The next one is something we make right here without a license currently in Cincinnati, Ohio, at Planet Everywhere. And because it's summertime, I do believe that these are in high use because we are a cornhole community in Cincinnati as well. If you don't know, if you're out in the rest of the world, cornhole is you take these bags and you see that box there underneath it. There's got a big box that's got a hole in it, and you throw your bag and you try to get it in the hole, and you got huge. It is the safe version of horseshoes. Yeah. In my opinion, I think, and it is very popular here in Ohio, and we manufacture our hemp cornhole bags right here without a license. Who knows if that'll be true after Friday or tomorrow? License-free cornhole bags, get them while they last. Those run about $15, $14.37, I think, a set, and so not very expensive, I don't think, for a set of cornhole bags either. The next one is something. This is actually a new product for us. We just picked these up recently, but this is the Hempster energy drinks. It comes in a regular, so to speak, in a sugar-free, coming in at right around $3.49. And so, there's just something we've been seeing recently is hemp oil infused, no CBD, I think it's just hemp oil infused in the energy drink. Excuse me for a second. It's dry. I'm dry. Okay, and then the last one, which is a personal favorite of mine as well, I have this on the shelves else, is the Lady Jane vegan flapjack mix. Again, great vegan substitute for a food that I think everyone, if you don't like flapjacks or pancakes, as some people call them, then there may be something wrong with you. But as you can see, get your no GMO, gluten-free, as hemp is gluten-free, no dairy. It's vegan. It's vegan. And that bag runs, I think, right around $8.37 for some good old-fashioned vegan flapjack mix. And so enjoy if you are a vegan in the world, and enjoy if you are not. Just knowing that the hemp in the hemp food is good for you. It's good for you. Eat it. The last one is a product that I had personally made for me originally for a Halloween costume, but have definitely enjoyed for all its purposes over the years, is this hemp poncho. And so these are all different kinds of hemp fabrics. Obviously in the traditional poncho can be used as a blanket or a little cover. And then I had some in the inside is the hemp silk. So I got the hemp silk on the inside, which is a hemp silk blend, obviously. And then, different forms, like some canvas and some woven hemp and even some that hemp on the bottom there that's been for the fringe. And so I've had this, I don't know, maybe probably about 7 years or so, and I usually take it camping. It sits on my chair at home. If I get chilly, I'll use it. And so this is a product that I use on definitely a semi-regular basis. No one else in the world has. No one else in the world has this particular hemp product. So that's kind of fun, personally made for me, for my supply. So there you have it. There's the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Indeed.
And a good segue to the next segment, of course.
This is a very good segue because you're wearing something in the last image. You'll be wearing something in the next image. But the next image is what you were wearing today, aka the beach wear, for the start of season 4. It had to be something very special for the world premiere of the season. Beach, what are you wearing today?
It's true. If you woke up this morning, you said, "Hey, it's Hemp History Week. What are you wearing, Beach?" Here it is. To celebrate Hemp History Week, I've got probably one of my all-time favorite hats. This head case hat was actually printed by Kentucky Hemp Outfitters. Rob Mosley, who is still in the hemp game. He was down in Louisville for a while. We had a store in Louisville, hemp store in Louisville for 10, 12 years, I think, probably at least. And so, definitely a part of this hat is the clean version, and then I have the exact same hat, which is the dirty version, which is the one I usually wear if I'm actually out to keep this one nice. But definitely a part of my hemp history, being from Kentucky. It actually says Kentucky. It's also got a Wildcats on the back thing. It says Wildcats anyway. The hemp history shirt. When you officially, and this is the first year, except for the first year, that we didn't officially be a part of Hemp History Week through the Vote Hemp people. But this is one of the previous Hemp History shirts that was sent to me when we were officially participating. And so showing off the old Hemp History t-shirt. The shorts are Prana. Prana's making their own hemp history recently by releasing a long version or a long selection, a big selection of hemp products, both men and women's clothing. So you can go to prana.com, I think, and find some really nice hemp wear. I really like the hemp shirts. They're, it's like a linen weave, very thin, cool, but nice. They look nice. You can see my hemp pin in my pocket. I've also got a Hempies belt on. Lost a little bit of weight, so my clothes are a little big on me, so I have to wear a belt these days quite a bit. The old Hemptopia briefs, you can find them online as well. My Oasis no-show socks, those I found on Amazon. And then a good old-fashioned pair of Adidas Sambas. To finish up the old Hemp History Week, trying to go with the old red, white, and blue theme as they do to celebrate. It's not a national holiday yet, but they're trying. They're trying.
Someday.
So if you woke up this morning, you said, "Hey, it's Hemp History Week. What are you wearing, Beach?" Now you know.
There you go. Amanda checking in the chat area on the Facebook. Said hope we're both doing well. Indeed, celebrating Hemp History Week. She did come. Sorry she's late to the show. She did come a little bit late. You missed the rant earlier from Beach and the entire history of hemp. So if you want to go back after the show and get into that, there you go.
Yeah, you're not in Ohio, Amanda, I know, and so the Ohio rant is not necessary, but the history part might be. But thanks for watching. They tune in. Every week, for the most part, out in their area of the country. So thanks, Amanda, and the rest of the office is listening. Hi, everyone. Now we're going to do a little bit of hemp news. We got some interesting hemp news, a little bit more ranting, but not a whole lot. In the hemp news and events segment, the FDA, we I've been talking about it. So the FDA had their listening session. Which I think went very well. A lot of people showed up, which, is I guess, good in one sense. They went all day with a lot of comments. The most interesting to me takeaway from what I saw with some of the comments and and some of the things that they were talking about was someone brought up a 1% or less THC idea, which is ridiculous. We need to go the other direction. It should be more like, no, I'm sorry, 0.1%. They were proposing that we move it to 0.1%. I propose we move it to 1%. Guess what? You still won't be able to get high, and there's really no reason. I mean, it honestly, other than obviously the CBD industry, where this is really why they were talking about it, because again, the percentage of THC in your shampoo doesn't matter. The percentage of THC in your pair of jeans doesn't matter. And so to have restrictions on those products is ridiculous to idea. If you want to grow a 28% THC fiber plant to make a shirt out of, who cares? Who cares? You know, we can go back to the question, can I smoke your shirt? And I can go back to the answer, yeah, you can smoke anything with a big enough lighter, but you're not going to get high. So, you know, even if that plant was 28% THC and you're making a fiber product from it, there's no THC in there. Even the seed. Even if you were going to make a food product from the seed of a high THC plant, there is no crossover to THC in the seed. Now, there might be a THC on the outside of the seed, but most seeds are cleaned or shaken or whatever to a point where there shouldn't be anything on the outside of them when you get them as a food product, if they're just raw. And so, you know, that wouldn't matter at all in the food product. That's why you can't get high from eating hemp seeds, and you can't fail a test from eating hemp seeds. Even though some guy in the Navy or something somehow did win in court by saying that, it's not possible. It's not scientifically possible. I mean, if you took seeds from a 28% THC flower and you took them and you separated them from the flower, even that tiny bit of THC that you would eat hasn't been decarbulated, hasn't been heated. So A, that's not going to get you high, and B, most more than likely, is no way that trace amount would ever be high enough to make you fail a test. And so again, I think that limitations on it should really be the end product that decides. CBD, I get it, you know, and eventually we'll hopefully get there in a logical manner as things move along. It's all new. It's all new. I know most of you think that you know, it's kind of old now, but it's all new. It's still all so new to us. We're definitely still working it out as things go. The other thing I thought was interesting from the FDA is they're going to appoint a 2-person kind of exploratory panel, investigation, whatever. And, you know, hoping for the best. These 2 people educate themselves the best that they can on this subject.
Hopefully they watch the show.
Thinking the word. Yeah, hopefully they watch the show. At the very worst, they will be complacent and we won't get where we need to be with it, which is the fact that the FDA has no business being in the industrial hemp, CBD, supplement, anything. I've said it before and I'll say it again. They do not need to have any regulatory powers or oversight on industrial hemp CBD. Period. You know, they're regulating labels now. That's what they do, and that's fine. Don't make any medical claims, CBD supplement industry, and you won't get in trouble with the FDA. Do what you're saying with your product, CBD, industrial hemp industry, and the FDA won't get involved. I.e., don't say it's 28% CBD or 300 milligrams of CBD, and it's not. You know, because that can bring the FDA on you, as well it should. You know, and everybody just got a warning. There's, you know, so far, anybody that's even made medical claims in the CBD just got a warning from the FDA, which is always how it's approached. I mean, even if you're some late night TV channel hawking something and you say it cures cancer, the first time that when the FDA comes to you, you got to stop that. You stop it, you're good. Okay. Unless you're a doctor and the trials have been done, you can't make medical claims for anything. That's it's the same for any supplement. I can't make medical claims if we sold iron or vitamin C. I can't make the employees here in Temptation still can't make medical claims about those if it's a supplement. That is how the supplement world works, and industrial hemp should stay a supplement. It will stay a supplement because guess what? It's all natural. It's a plant. The government can't get involved when it comes to the plant-basedness of it. Obviously, they've gotten involved when it comes to a particular chemical compound part of it, which is also ridiculous because it's still a plant, whether it's got THC or CBD or CBN or terpenes or whatever else it's got in it. It's still a plant. That's the whole part of it, in my opinion. And that's always been the fact that the government should have never been able to regulate it by law. Stuff grows out of the ground. It's ridiculous to think that we have laws based on nature. It's a pompous human ideology. To be honest with you, it's like it's just so stupid. But there we are. That's kind of the takeaway I get from the FDA. I think to open up some can of worms that we may not want open, but in the same sense, again, they're not going to approve a plant-based drug through the FDA. You're going to have to make it into a synthetic version or a something else for the FDA to approve it, and then you got to do the test studies and blah 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 to prove that it's does have medical benefit. And again, at this point, we shouldn't have to go through that with industrial hemp, nor should we have to go through that with vitamin C or anything, whatever. And so we'll see what happens. It was a good turnout. I hope that, and for the most part, I think that it was pretty positive. Mm-hmm. All we can do is wait and see how the FDA kind of reacts to all of it as to what happens from here on out. And so, here we'll wait and see and hope for the best that the FDA just, stays out of it again. We don't want it descheduled. No, we don't want it rescheduled. We want it descheduled, yes. Which means cannabis needs to be taken off the controlled substance list, period. Then we can move forward with anything else we need to do. Rescheduling it to a different level sets us up to have it taken away from us. In all honesty, again, it'll be their way of the government, then taking it away from us by being able to regulate it still under these ridiculous scheduling from the Controlled Substance Act. Or whatever. So take it off the controlled substance like cannabis, all cannabis, and we can move forward with what we really need to do with the plant, period. Some events going on right now. The hemp is going on in Kentucky. I think you can go to just probably Google Heritage Hemp Trail, and it started, I think they started yesterday officially, maybe today, and they have about 4 days of different locations that you can go to in Kentucky that have some hemp history or are making hemp history now. Kentucky is steeped in it, and so Kentucky is definitely a state that if you wanted to go somewhere to Hemp History Week, that would be the place to do it. They got a big old placard in Danville celebrating, the Breckenridge Farms, industrial hemp, and all that. You can go to the Henry Clay Estates, and when you walk around and you get to the placard, the information placard about the agriculture that they were growing, they specifically say hemp was the most important crop that Henry Clay grew in Lexington. And so, once again, Kentucky is steeped for hemp, and the reason that Kentucky is steep for hemp is because Native Americans didn't live in Kentucky. So we all the crops that the Native Americans grew, we kind of kept with across the top, like in Ohio, across Ohio, Pennsylvania. But Kentucky was a hunting ground. And so the Europeans came right into Kentucky, didn't, didn't have to steal that land from the Native Americans, because they really just used it for hunting. They were living in Ohio, they were living in Tennessee, but Kentucky was mostly just hunting ground because it wasn't flat. And so that's I think one reason why when the Europeans came into Kentucky, hemp really took off, because there was really nothing being grown there by the Native Americans, not corn, not squash, none of that. And so it was something that was essential, already existed, and they could bring in and start fresh with. And so that's, I think, one reason why Kentucky was a large producer, because they started very early in the European immigration to the United States, and was obviously a beneficial, efficient plant to be grown up until 1937. And so, you can go online and get more information on the Heritage Hemp Trail in Kentucky. And these are, I know some of the girls that are putting this together were part of the original hemp being grown in Kentucky in 2014 as well. So, let's see. Tomorrow is the Tennessee Hemp Victory Bash and Summit, all day in Nashville. Find that if you're down around the Nashville area, and celebrate the legalization of hemp in Tennessee. And they've got a little summit going on. I don't know what that involves. 7th and 8th. So this weekend, you've got the Oregon Hemp Convention. I think you can go to OregonHempConvention.com for more information on that. June 15th, back in Kentucky, we've got at Mount Folly Farms, Winchester, Kentucky. They've got a hemp CBD planting party from noon to 4. And so, and again, I put all these events should be on the second page of hemptations.com, so you can go there and look and find out more information, locations, and whatnot of this. And July 13th, the New England Hemp Symposium is going on. So if you're up in that area, check out that. July 13th and 14th, if you're in Glen around in Colorado, the Enviro Hemp Workshop, and you can go to envirohempworkshop.com. This is being put on by Enviro Textiles, who has been a leading supplier of hemp fabric, hemp clothing in the United States for as long as we have been around. I believe they were formed, or they started using hemp maybe like the year before we opened, 1994-ish, if I remember my facts on Enviro Textiles. And again, leading in the industry, one of the leaders in the industry as far as fabric and clothing and whatnot. And so I am sure there is much to be learned at the Enviro Hemp Workshop, July 13th and 14th in Glenwood Springs. And that pretty much gets us through the events. I do have a question that I've had on the palette for a while, as we're going to have the longest show ever. And the question is, so we can get this done with on the Hemp History Week show, is part 2. It says, Chad says, the Farm Bill has had a negative impact on the hemp industry. Thoughts? I think that's a ridiculous thought. I don't even know how something that could have moved us so far forward has a negative impact. What's had a negative impact on the industry is the legalization of cannabis for other purposes, in my opinion. It's not the legalization of industrial hemp that's moved us, that's had a negative impact on it. It's all the other cannabis that's causing the confusion. Okay? And so, we have done nothing but move forward with all the legislation that's come about as far as industrial hemp goes, federally, state-wise. Again, and I am not belittling anyone's opinion of the industry, but to make a thought and be so new to the industry is kind of I don't know. It's if you've only been in the industry for 5 years, before 5 years ago, we had no industry as far as farming. And so I'm like, I'm going back 23 years where I had no foreseeable window as to the American farmer growing up until just 5 years ago when we made hemp farming legal again in the United States. No state law has moved us backwards. And, only the state laws are only moving it forward so you can be in compliant with the federal laws. And to make the statement when you are in the CBD aspect of things is even more, to me, a little bit insulting to make a statement. I mean, to come out and say that you believe that legalizing industrial hemp has had a negative impact on the hemp industry, the farm bill, I should say, the farm bill, which legalized federally industrial hemp, has a negative impact on the hemp industry. You wouldn't have a hemp industry in the United States if it wasn't passed. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I don't even know. And again, I don't care if you're a leading producer of a hemp product in the United States. To make such a statement to me is actually kind of ignorant, because it's very short-sighted. It's very short-sighted as to where we have been in the United States since 1937 when we couldn't grow this plant here. So you couldn't take the plant that was grown here and manufactured, have a business, buy it from a processor, blah, blah, blah. And so in no way, 0% has either one of the farm bills had a negative impact on the hemp industry. And so we can only move. And those were both farm bills were forward. All state legalization is forward. And so forward, to me, can never be negative. Backwards is negative.
Yes.
we haven't gone backwards for the last 5 years. And we haven't gone backwards for the last 23 years, to be honest with you. No, in no way. We wouldn't. The domestic hemp industry would not exist without the farm bills. You wouldn't have a farm bill to bitch about because you wouldn't be in the hemp industry business domestically. And, I would still be the island in the sun or the island in the ocean of non-hemp atmosphere. And so, again, that doesn't make me special. I'm just saying no one was involved in industrial hemp 5 years ago, and now everybody is. Everybody is. And obviously we know that's being drawn by the Medterra, I just read a text, by the CBD growing and manufacturing part of it. And so, no, in no way has the farm a negative impact on the hemp industries in the United States or anywhere in the world, to be honest with you. We're going to start exporting industrial hemp. How can that be? We can now begin to do that. That can't be a bad thing either. All right. Well, folks, Hemp History Week, longest show ever, making hemp history. Thanks for watching. If you held out for the whole hour-plus show, we've never done that. And we will be back next week. Again, you can go to hemptations.com, check out some store information and the events pages. Go to the Jedi Hemp channel on YouTube and watch any previous episode of the High Noon Hemp Show. Go Google that guy, Joe Clare, a.k.a. Stoner Jesus. Get some more information on him if you want. He is out there in the cannabis world for sure. And I'm Beach, and I am done ranting, raving, giving a history lesson for today. Thanks, everybody, for watching the first episode of Season 4 of the High Noon Hemp Show. Reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See you all next week.